Hi, this is Eddie Deason. You're listening to Breaking the Fourth Wall. I was Mandark in Dexter's Laboratory. Ha 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 ha.
You are listening to Breaking the Fourth Wall on Realm of the Mist Entertainment.
All right, I'm on my phone. Is that okay?
That's fine. Hey, what's up, everybody? Christopher Stolle here, back with another Breaking the Fourth Wall, episode 107. I still can't believe we're in the triple digits already. Thank you for joining me tonight. We are live on Twitch and on Facebook Live. So, guys, if you have questions for our guests or just conversation in general, make sure you're sending out those messages because we will read them live on air. Tonight, I'm going to be joined by a co-host. She is new to Breaking the Fourth Wall, and she's going to be helping me with a lot of the interview duties here so we can get even more interviews out to you guys and maybe get closer to 200 real quick. That is Kim. Kim, how you doing tonight?
I am doing well. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm living. But tonight, it's not about Kim. It's not about me. Of course, this is Breaking the Fourth Wall, so we always give the center of attention to our guests. And tonight is actor and model, Mr. Dale Niehaus. Niehaus. Did I say it right? Niehaus?
Niehaus.
Yes, you did. You got it right. Right there. Very good.
There we go. You know what? I've got one of those names that's like impossible to pronounce as well, so I always feel bad if I screw somebody else's up.
Trust me, you wouldn't be the first time. I've been called Newhouse, Nick House, Niehaus, every type of house, so you're fine.
Well, I do guess that it's a German heritage, correct? With the way house is spelled, H-A-U-S. German or Dutch descent?
Yeah. You got it right.
Okay. Well, my name's German too, so that's the only reason why I knew that. But yeah, the big thing here is welcome to the show. Very happy to have you. You are an actor and a model. So of course the first question I've got to go into here is the typical standard. We get the typical standards out of the way. What made you follow into this line of work? What made you want to be not only an actor but a model as well? And which one came first?
Okay. Acting actually came first. Basically, since I was a little kid, I grew up watching movies a lot. I was a movie buff since before I could walk, and I would always watch it and use my imagination to be entertained. But what's funny is I actually didn't find acting until my middle to late 30s. I basically went through the things where I grew up, got married, had kids, and then when I moved to Oklahoma, where I live at, I just one day decided I saw auditions for a play, and I decided, why not? You know, I have a fear of being in front of people. So I decided for the fun of it to audition for it. And it was a local play in Norman, and needless to say, I got a small part in it. Went through the nervousness and the fear of doing all of it, and then once I got on stage and did my small parts and people laughed, I fell in love with it instantly. And just like that, the acting bug bit me, and that was back in 2016. And so I've been doing it ever since, just slowly building it up. And then with modeling, I was actually... friend of mine was taking pictures for a headshot that I needed, and he suggested that, hey, you've got an amazing look, you really ought to model. So I was like, okay, I guess I can give that a shot, why not? and so then I started working with different photographers, and just that was like a year later. So I started modeling here and there, and I've worked with quite a few photographers. The modeling isn't as far along as the acting, but just something about my look, I guess, is just they love taking pictures of me. I don't know what it is. I mean, I haven't broke a camera yet, luckily, but you know.
Well, I could definitely understand. I mean, my mother always told me growing up I have a face for radio, so if you got it, flaunt it. So, but
I'm looking at his picture right now, and he's got like that macho, but yet friendly look. But yeah, you definitely have a great bone structure. So I'm checking you out right now since you said you had this face, so I had to check it out.
Aw, well, thank you. You just made my
Aw.
day.
You're welcome. All I could think of is Oklahoma. I've been keeping thinking of like Oklahoma, where the buffalo roam or whatever. So do you like a lot of cowboy stuff, or are you a cowboy? How does that work?
No, actually, I've pretty much was born and raised in the city back in Indiana, and then I do like wearing my cowboy boots. But no, I have been in some westerns, actually, some smaller westerns, and I do love watching westerns and being in westerns. But I'm honestly just a jack of all trades type of film and different things, like anything from comedy to drama to horror to westerns to sci-fi to, I mean, pretty much you name it. But I tell you what, since I shaved my head back a couple years ago, being a bad guy is probably the funnest thing I find to be in a film.
Mm-hmm. But you have a friendly face. Your
I
eyes
do.
are amazing. Your eyes
Well-
are amazing. But the
well,
shaved
thank you.
head does look a little intimidating.
It kind of does. It kind of does. And then it also just, I don't know, I've gotten a lot more compliments since I shaved my head because I'm starting to thin up on top and go bald. So it just was like, if I'm going to start going bald, I might as well just shave it all. So ever since then, I've loved it.
It's kind of funny because back in my checkered past, I was an independent professional wrestler, and for about 17 years, I played a single character known as Matt Wild, and Matt started his career as a bad guy, as a heel, but then took a character change and became a good guy, became a face, and I pretty much finished my career that way. And I mean, I enjoyed being the baby face, slapping hands and kissing babies, and all that stuff, but there was a liberating feeling of being the bad guy, of being the heel. So I definitely get where you're coming from. It's more fun to be evil. Now, the thing I wanted to ask, playing off that you started as a stage actor. What was the transition that made you decide to want to go into film? And even more so, which do you prefer, being on set for film, or do you prefer to stage?
Well, honestly, the transition was I had done a couple plays, and I had also thought about doing film, and I never had before. So I basically just tried it out to see the difference. And I mean, I loved film, but honestly, they're both in their own aspects so different because I like theater because it's more challenging in a sense, because if you mess up a line or you forget something, you have to keep going as if it's a live scene and as if you purposely did it, because there's no cut, no action, none of that stuff. Compared in film, if you screw up, they can stop the cameras or whatever and you can redo it. So in that aspect, I like theater because you challenge yourself more, and also the rehearsals. I mean, there was time for one of the plays, it was Oliver at Sooner Theater in Norman, that we had to rehearse 5 days during the week for like 4 hours.
Wow.
And yeah, it was and my 10-year-old now, that was back when he was probably about 8. He actually was in there with me as well, as like one of the warehouse boys, and I played Oliver's grandfather in that. And so the rehearsals was rigorous, but then being on stage, if you literally, there was one time where an actor I was working with forgot their line, and I had to pretend and go on with it like as if nothing had happened. And so it was a really good experience. But then on film, like I said, I love doing that too, because you can just really delve into a character, and you can really become somebody else. But one thing you got to learn with theater and film, in theater, you have to project yourself out to there so the whole audience can hear you and see you. And on film, if you try to do that, that camera and mic picks up stuff that just, like, everything. And if you do that on a film in front of a camera, it just comes out really super magnified. So
you're overreacting or something? Like you're just overacting. It's like you like I know, like when you sing, because I know Chris sings too. It's like if you go over the top, you find yourself like it's too much, especially like you said if you're on film. Whereas being live, you have to have that kind of over the top character. So
Yes.
find that balance, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think one of
Yeah,
the biggest
thank you.
quotes I ever followed was Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden when he talked about performing live as a singer and a musician, is that always project yourself to the point that you can reach the back row without a microphone.
True.
Yeah, that's about right. That's about right.
And that's how he would deliver. And live, you're right. But as you say, I mean, if I were to put it into music standpoints, I could do that on a stage and be as loud as I want through a PA system or whatever. But when it comes to, like, right now, I'm recording an album, and when I'm singing into a microphone for recording, if I go too loud, that microphone, the microphone will just it'll phase out, like, the pops and the sounds, and there's this secret balance to it. And I imagine it's pretty much the same way with the boom mic over top of you as you're delivering lines. Like, if you try to go over the top and really project that, it would probably screw up the scene just as badly sound wise.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because that mic, I mean, there's times to where you could be in a building and it'd be in the basement, and then there's a train going by. That mic will pick it up just like that. So yeah, you literally just talking like this, like you just basically have a normal conversation, and you really don't have to project yourself, because yeah, it'll mess up the audio just like that. And there's been times on set where, especially if an actor who was theater before, that all of a sudden is transitioning to film, they don't realize that, and they still try to project, and it has to be another take, which honestly, sometimes it works good for the bloopers, but sometimes it just gets annoying, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, there's that other thing too. It's like, I don't know, when you're in front of an audience, I feel like you're more alive. Like, I don't know, you're almost like you're immersed in it, and you get that energy from the audience. But then, like you said, if you have to keep retake, you kind of like lose yourself somewhere, and they're like, oh, after I say this again, I'm just, you kind of lost the momentum. Do you find that happening when you're acting in different venues or mediums?
Yeah, you absolutely can. Like you said, yes, like you were saying, when you're in front of an audience, and that can also be debilitating as well, because let's say if your performance is bad, the audience doesn't like it, well, you can be hearing crickets. But I mean, it's a really good energy when all of a sudden, like, you do something and the audience at the end just applauds like crazy. But also with film, yeah, take after take sometimes, it can be frustrating, because at times when you're starting to do it, your performance may just be like, it's like, oh, you can tell you're acting, but then the more you do it, sometimes that emotion with the frustration can actually play into it, to where your character finally just kind of clicks like that. It's just natural. So there sometimes is it works itself out sometimes. But yeah, there are times to where on set where you've had to do several takes, and it just is like, okay, come on, let's get this over with. But that's where the training and the patience with your acting comes in, because you learn to still put on the act, and you can tell an actor's good whenever you don't think that they're acting, when you actually think that person is the real person. And that's the key, and it's something I still struggle with, but I'm getting better and better each year as it comes along.
Well,
That's cool. Can you imagine, like, all I can think of is, like, you're watching something, and in the back of your mind going, that took 75 takes.
Oh, yeah. Luckily, I've never been on anything like that yet, and that would be a really bad day. That's all I gotta say.
Well, I imagine you've got to be good with frustrations and all that with the show, because of going off what you said before, is you started your life, your personal life, with the whole marriage, 9-to-5 job, kids. Of course, I got to go into how did it work out for you? Like, how hard was it for you to break into the acting and the modeling, with also doubling as the role as provider, husband, and father, juggling those dual lives?
It's definitely caused the strain on the personal life quite a bit. I won't get too much into that today, but it's definitely caused the strain on the personal life with trying to break into acting, the thing about acting is you have to love what you do to do it, because of not only because of your personal life taking a hit, because there's what people don't realize when you break into the industry, there is so much time you have to sacrifice to do this, because you're not only auditioning, you're doing a lot of free projects like student films or whatever, and then you're also networking. So pretty much your time is spent building this, and unfortunately sometimes that takes its toll on a marriage, a relationship, a family, and so it definitely had its moments quite a bit. But because I loved it, I took all the rejections, the sacrifice, and everything else, and to me, I knew this is what I wanted to do, and so I basically just focused on that. But it also has taught me over the years, since I've acted, that to also balance that out to where I spend time with my kids, that I don't just sit there and get on my phone and network now as much. I actually focus more on spending time with my kids when I'm home and trying to do things to better my health, my mental health, and everything else. Because if you don't balance that life between acting and family, it can be very disastrous at times.
I definitely didn't want to touch any sensitive subjects. I was just curious how you found that inner balance.
You're perfectly fine. You are perfectly fine. Not a problem at all.
But
now
there,
yeah, sorry.
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I know you said you have the 3 boys, right?
Yes.
And you said the one acted with you now. Do they still act? Does anybody else get the acting bug now?
Actually, yeah, not as. Let's see. Both my 10-year-old and now my 17-year-old have actually been in a few things with me, films as well, and it's a lot of local stuff here in Oklahoma. I basically, if they want to be in something with me, then I will have them be in it. But I don't sit there and force them to do stuff, or I also don't try to. I want them to figure out what they want to do in their lives, and if they want to be in something, then fine, they can be in it with me. But I don't sit there and I'm like, hey guys, let's go do this, because I want my kids to grow up and be kids and enjoy themselves. And when they're adults, if they decide this is something they want to pursue actively, then I'll definitely help them more. But yeah, every once in a while, there's a project that they're looking for, let's say a 17-year-old or a 10-year-old, and I'll say, hey guys, they got this project going on. This is what it's about. Would you guys want to do it? And most time they're like, yeah, sure. And then they're like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, not a problem. Problem.
Well, I wanted to bounce off something Kim asked you before when she asked you about the westerns and cowboy movies, and especially bouncing off of the fact that you said that you enjoy playing the villain, especially now that you shaved your head. It made me wonder, what are some of your more favorite or memorable roles that you played? Like, what do you like playing the most? Do you like playing sci-fi, comedy, horror, westerns? Like, what are the gigs out of all the gigs that you love the most playing?
Oh wow, okay. That is actually a tough one because, my favorite role, and I haven't got to play too many of them yet. It's a mixture. It's a mixture of horror, but also mob boss.
Okay.
And it's just, it's something about the control and the character when you're the bad guy, to where you don't have to be like this over the top, like, crazy psycho villain, but you could be this one that just seems like a totally normal person, but just like an instant, they can just like that, just change to where they're basically, it's like, I can't think of a character like a similarity or just a comparison, but like just one of those characters that's just like all of a sudden talking normal, and then just all of a sudden just like pretty much put somebody in their place, or basically like kills them or whatever. Just but something like that. So I'd have to say probably some type of like mob boss is probably one of my favorites I've played.
When you say over the topness, are you talking like when you're coming off of Mafia? The best examples I can give is something a little bit more serious, like The Godfather, or really over the top like Sopranos or Scarface?
Man, those are actually all really good too. Or even like a Bane from The Dark Knight, or The Dark Knight Rises. That was kind of really over the top in my opinion. But nothing against that actor and what he did, but just like I think almost like for a bad guy, more simple that you're doing it, like to where I think the scariest ones are not the ones that are screaming and all that top lungs, but almost like the Hannibal Lecter type, to where it's quiet. It's very deep. It's almost like, okay, this guy's really quiet. What is he about to do?
Yeah, where's his mind going? Where?
Yeah.
I know you like. I love it when you're watching something and you look at a character and they're, like you said, if you look normal, and you're like, there's something that's going to happen. Something's going to snap, and that's the kind of characters that are fun. You can't get your eyes off of them because you know something is going to happen.
Exactly.
I love villain characters. And, I like your cheesy campies. I mean, give me Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze and Batman and Robin all day. But I mean, as far as real villains, the ones that always get me the most are the ones that are as normal as you and me right now. And their motivations are not so over the top. You almost see, you could, it's like, okay, they're bad. They're bad. They're immoral, but you can almost get why they are the way they are. Those are the type of villains that I've always loved the most.
And that's the kind of villains I like to play. I like to play the ones that the audience, and here's my always thing with acting that motivates me, is I want whoever's watching me to feel something, whether they feel really bad for my character, or they feel they hate me, or they just feel like, oh my God, I feel what that guy's going through. But yeah, the villains that have, they're evil, but it's like they're real. They're normal people that are going through something in their life that just brought them to that point, and you can just kind of relate to them as you're watching them, and you can just be motivated in some way.
That's awesome. I definitely want to get this in real quick. I know you're working on a brand new project that is going to be set up for a future streaming service. Why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit about that? I want to make sure everybody knows this is coming so they can come find it when it releases.
When it's time to binge watch.
When it's time to binge watch.
Of course. Okay. Well, this it's called Hunting Jessica. Basically, what it is, it's based off of a book series by a author that's actually lives in Moore, Oklahoma. Her name is Elizabeth St. John, and I think the fans of True Blood that used to watch it will really enjoy this. It's like a supernatural type of show, and what it is, it's basically about this girl that her name is Jessica, and she works for this company, and before she knows it, she thinks that everything is normal, all this and that, and then before she realizes, her world just completely blows up, and there's supernatural creatures that she finds out about that she actually works for, and also that they also are fighting, and it's basically has like vampires and like these creatures in there that are called hellhounds that are like werewolves, and it basically, there's this whole like, it's complicated, but it's amazing, and it has the potential. We're finishing up season 1 as soon as this whole Corona thing's over with, and then it should be released in the fall. And it's the production company is Ramon Martin Film Productions, and that's RAMAN. It's filmed up in Newkirk, Oklahoma, but it's basically the show is based off this fictional town called Devil's Bend in Oklahoma, and it's going to be, I think the fans of True Blood that used to love watching that show are going to really get a kick out of this.
I loved True Blood. So, so I know we don't want to get too much, spoilers, but so now, are you one of these characters? You one of these mystical creatures, or what?
Well, see, even on the IMDb for the page, and on my IMDb page, basically the actors database, mine is listed as Mystery Man for a reason, and because
hey, this sounds good.
and it's because my character is a spoiler, so they can't even announce who my character is or what he does in the show, because it'll give away a vital plot into the story.
We don't want to do that, but we like the fact that you're a mystery man. I like that. I like mystery men. Now, the True Blood, you mentioned True Blood, so is it going to be a steamy?
I'll tell you what, there will be some steamy aspects without getting too much, but I'll tell you what, if you truly want to get an idea, and it's not completely off of the books, but it's based off of the book series, if anybody checks her out, it's called The Hunting Series. It's by Elizabeth St. John. She's an author, actually, her books are for sale online, but there is some steamy stuff in there, so it's definitely not something for kids to watch, let's put it that way.
I can't wait to watch this.
That was gonna be my question of is how family friendly would it be? Is it something that's gonna have to be later at night when the kids are asleep? So you've already answered that.
Yeah, it definitely is. If like I said, with True Blood, Game of Thrones, like that, yeah, you obviously can't watch little kids watch that stuff. So this is definitely not for the younger kids for sure. No.
Now, since you
to bed, it's mommy daddy time.
now that you mentioned Game of Thrones, I've got to ask: is there sex position?
Doing what? What was that again?
Sex position, the word that was coined because of Game of Thrones, where plot exposition was given out during sex scenes. It's a joke. I don't expect it to be serious.
That threw me off, though. I'm not going to lie. That really threw me off when you said that.
I thought this was
Believe it or not, that's a legitimate thing. When Game of Thrones came out, they coined that phrase because of the fact that Game of Thrones moved a lot of their plot points through exposition during gradation sex scenes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That is actually a good point. I never thought about that before. Wow.
I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan.
That great wine.
Oh, I am too. I love that. I love that show.
I love Game of Thrones
from start to finish.
If I ever broke into movies, quite honestly, if I ever got the opportunity to be an actor, besides Star Wars, obviously I'd want to be a Jedi. Come on, let it happen. George, listen to me. I want to be a Jedi. Put me into special editions of the prequel trilogy. I'll be one of the Jedi that die in Attack of the Clones. It's cool. Just put me in the background.
Oh my God! Yes.
But if I ever had my choice, I think I would want a medieval epic like a Game of Thrones or like a Lord of the Rings. I think I would really want to be a part of something like that.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
You're speaking my language right there. Talking about like Lord of the Rings, especially. Oh my God, I would die to be in if they made another film like based off of that. Oh my God, I've grew up watching Lord of the Rings. Okay, I'm 39, so I didn't grow up watching it necessarily, but I grew up reading the books and then watching it when it came out, and then The Hobbit and all that stuff. So yeah, I love that stuff.
Well, I mean, you do have the opportunity coming. Aren't they filming for? I believe it's Amazon Prime. Aren't they filming a Lord of the Rings series, like TV show?
I believe they are actually, and yeah, so there might very well be a chance that I could be in that. I'll have to definitely see about that for sure.
We'll have to promote you, and then we can just be extras, right, Chris?
Please, yeah, I'll be a hobbit. I don't care. I might be a little too tall for it.
I'll be a fairy, I'll be like an elf, whatever. I'll be an elf,
As long as I don't have to be Smeagol, which I don't know, I'd still probably him anyway.
Well, if we're gonna base off of looks, I mean, with the minimum amount of makeup available, I'm pretty sure I play an orc. But but no, it was leading towards the question, which I'm sure you probably already answered with this. But like, what would be your dream role if you walked into a studio right now and they said to you, look, you can be in any film, playing any role. What would that role in film be?
Oh my God. Okay, see that is actually a really tough one because it would have to be some type of medieval film because the reason I say that is also because growing up I did read Dragonlance and different novels like that.
Oh my God, please give me a live action movie of Dragonlance. I have been begging for that.
Oh my God, yes. And I honestly, my dream role would have been, and it is still a wizard.
Oh wow, that'd be cool.
So Raceland McGare.
Oh my God, Raceland! Oh, I would die to play him. He was so evil, but so genius. My God.
Who actually?
God, he was amazing.
Who actually was portrayed not too terribly by Kiefer Sutherland in the cartoon Dragonlance, Dragons of Autumn Twilight. The movie itself was a bomb, but Kiefer Sutherland did a great job. Got to give credit where it's due.
Yeah, Kiefer's great, though. Kiefer's like one of the best.
Yes.
No matter what he does.
Oh my God, I've loved his acting. I've always watched his acting and loved it.
Yeah, he's amazing.
See, now you got me all extra excited because I have been begging for a live action Dragonlance, or even Forgotten Realms. Like this day and age where we want to have more people of color, let's have a Stu Arden movie going on. It begs
Yes.
for a person of color. Let's do it.
Oh my God. Yes, I would die for live action of either one of those.
Oh,
Movie studios, listen up.
well, I mean, you work with a lot. You work with a lot of independents as well, not just major movie corporations. Maybe you could put it in the ear of somebody. Everything starts somewhere.
Oh, trust me, I'm sure that one of my local independent people have definitely thought something like that, and they definitely. I mean, there's a local film production around here. It's called Boiling Point, and they've done a lot of. They made like this one called Jurassic Games and Adventures of Jurassic Pet and Adventures of Rufus. They've done a lot of like some medieval stuff, but it's kind of a little different along the lines. But his name is Ryan Belgard. He's done quite a bit around Oklahoma with that as well, and so. Who knows? Maybe if he's listening or watching, maybe he'd like to try to make a live-action Dragonlance. You never know.
Well, that'd be nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, since I helped put the bug in people's ears, again, I'll take a roll. I'll be a draconian.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be the first one to get
I'll be
stabbed
the-
and turned to stone.
yeah.
That's easy enough.
Just let me
I'll
get,
do the voice of a dragon.
I'll be a tag along. With
Nice.
I'll just do whatever.
Well, you say you'll be a voice of a dragon. I've got to ask, what voice would you give your dragon? Would it be more like the Sean Connery Dragonheart dragon, or more like Smaug in The Hobbit, where demon voice?
You know, I don't know. I'd probably do the Sean Connery voice for the Draco, the dragon.
Oh, that's a good one. He's a good dragon, you know.
He's a very good dragon. He tries to be fair the best he can.
You know, and I could be a fair maiden, even though I'm not very fair, because I'm a non-blonde.
That is awesome. You just became my favorite just because of the fact you've read Dragonlance. You don't know how many people, like, I have friends who play Dungeons and Dragons, and they know everything about, Forgotten Realms, like, all day. But you mentioned Dragonlance, they're like, huh?
Really?
Yeah, like it's almost forgotten about, and it's a shame because it's such a great series.
Oh, it is, and I even read like with when Damon it was after the Heroes of the Lance. I even read where he I don't know if you read that or not too, where like Damon I can't remember his last name, but it took place after that too, and I even read past all that too, and I was a fan for years. I kind of fell out after a while, like after it got to a certain point, but the Heroes of the Lance and all that, I read those continuously, and then the Tale of the Two Brothers with Cameron and Raceland, I read those, how they went through their trials and stuff. So yeah, I've been a Dragonlance fan since middle school.
I fell out after the second trilogy of the Dragons, like Dragons of the Lost Star trilogy.
Yes. Yeah, I couldn't after that. I kind of fell out. It's sad, but I kind of lost interest a little bit, not because it wasn't a good series. I just was like, I kind of started looking at other stuff too.
Well, that's the same here. It's not that I lost interest so much, it's that there was so much content. And then on top of it, I was getting more into other things, like, I hate to use this term, but more adult reading, in a sense, like Stephen King and Orson Welles and the like. And so it just kind of fell by the wayside, and I never got back into it. But now that you mention it, like, I want the coronavirus to be over. I need to go over to Barnes & Noble. I need to pick up some more books.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, also, there's another book series that I read. It was called the Dresden Files. I don't know if you've ever read that.
No.
About it's phenomenal. It honestly, I first read book 2, but it's about this wizard named Harry Dresden who lives in Chicago, who helps the Chicago PD, their supernatural unit, solve supernatural crimes. That has everything from vampires to werewolves to other like evil warlocks to it's an amazing. If you're into like mixture between supernatural and also mystery, that series, the Dresden Files, is amazing.
I think I read one of those books because the
Yes.
name sounded familiar. I'm like, it sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
It's
but
really cool.
no, but it definitely goes along the lines of another book series I was going to highly recommend to be turned into a movie as well, as Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time stories. Eye of the World and all, which deals with the a character who winds up being like in a sense the chosen one, and he's dragonborn, and it's just really solid series. Just like 13, 14 books to it, and it's just a phenomenal series dealing with a war going on that could separate the wheel of time, the mystical control of everything, and a lot of wizards, a lot of immortals, just a great series. If you haven't read it, read it, and if you haven't made a movie out of it, which nobody has, I know somebody who'll star in it.
We know, yeah.
Oh, y'all are just the sweetest.
Oh, we love you already.
Thank you so much.
But yeah, I mean, what's next besides the Jessica show? What is next on the horizon for you? Any more stage maybe, or during the break between season 1 and season 2, you're just gonna hang out at home, or what else you got going on for you?
Well, actually, there's smaller projects up. There's one actually that's going to be filming in August. That's actually a religious one. It's called Faith Restored, and I'm playing the lead in that one. It's being made by a local filmmaker, but basically, my character loses his faith from some tragic events, and he has an accident and is transported back to the first Easter, and it's basically about him finding his faith again.
Wow. Those are really popular, in itself. It's like that genre. You probably will take off right there on becoming a Christian actor. So that's cool. Congratulations on that.
And thing with that too is I like they're gearing towards like more of the Christian audience, but even a film like that where a guy goes through some tragedy and kind of finds his, whatever you believe in, whether you're a Christian or not, he finds his faith, his meaning in life again. And so I think that can definitely touch people even if they're not Christians. And so, but yeah, it's when I read the character, when I did the table read, because I was going through some stuff at the time and I could just feel the pain that he was going through. And the director saw that and they were like, something told us that you're perfect for that role. So, well, I got cast as lead in a feature film, and hopefully it'll go somewhere, big. Hopefully.
Now this is something that's going to be released to theaters, or is it like a TV, or is it going to be streaming service? Like, where can people find this coming film? And the reason I ask is because, unbeknownst to many people, my co-host actually works with a church, and I bet they would probably love to see a film like that.
Yeah.
Well, you see, right now I know that's in the works. They're raising funding and everything else for it, and so I'm not for sure exactly where it's going to be seen at, but the director's name is Gina Brewer. She's actually a friend of mine, and her mom, and they actually both wrote the script, and so they're definitely trying to figure out exactly where they can get it distributed at. So that's definitely, and I can even mention something to them if you would like him, and definitely that, because like I said, the more they can get known about it and get the word out about it, obviously the better chances it can get released into a bigger venue.
That'd be awesome.
Is there a GoFundMe or anything of that nature available for people to be able to contribute to the film?
There was up for a while, and I'm pretty sure there is still. That would definitely be something that I can let you know about later on once I find out for sure. I want to get the details, and if so, I'll definitely share that with you. And if you absolutely guys wouldn't mind sharing that, then obviously the better chances they can get a lot more funding for that, because they've done pretty good so far, but it would definitely help out for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, especially with this video, I could obviously edit post-production after it's already been released. If it's not there yet, guys, keep checking the description down below, and I will have a link to that GoFundMe page if there is one available. So that way, if you want to see this film be created and put out there, especially a film, a positive message, guys, $1, $10, $100. $50,000. Let's get the movie made.
Wow, thank you. That'd be really awesome.
I took a class once and they said, what's your ideas? And then you put your little things down. They goes, no, I want your BHAGs, your big, hairy, audacious goals. So we're gonna BHAG this, okay?
Oh, I understand that one. All I want is world domination of one major city. Is that too much to ask?
That's a BHAG. That's a small one.
That's not so much to ask. That's tiny. One city. That's
One
not
city. That's nothing.
$1 million. We don't have the cameras on. I'm doing my best Dr. Evil right now. So.
I know, we need to do cameras someday, because I'll tell you, I know $1
Oh
million.
Lord, that would be funny.
Oh man, but all right. Well, the one final question that I have, I'm sure Kim has a couple more, so I'm not going to call it the end of the interview yet. But the final question is, you do modeling, you do acting, both stage and film. You're working on a bunch of different projects, plus being a father and husband. What do you do with your free time? What little free time you have? Like what does Dale do when Dale's not the superstar?
Well, let's see. I also still find other ways for income. I kind of still work a day job occasionally, but for free time, a little bit of everything. I love. I mean, typically it sounds, like, oh, you get bored of movies as an actor, but I'm a big movie buff, and I love watching movies and different, like, streaming things, but music. Love music, and I've actually started trying to learn how to write, and so I might actually start trying to write a script. That's probably far down the road still, but just mainly what my free time I love to do, especially since I've kind of learning with balancing and stuff, is be around my kids as much as possible. That's kind of what I love to do with my free time mostly.
I take it you guys go to a lot of movies and the like, since you said you are a film buff, and I imagine your kids are probably the same. I mean, my kids, to use that as an example for my reasoning, my kids, I started introducing them to the epics. They watched Lord of the Rings, they watched Star Wars. We're working on Harry Potter now. My kids are 10 and 11.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's our thing. Like every weekend, we're sitting down and watching 2-3 different movies at a time. So, I imagine it's probably a shared interest.
It is, but my kids also got for me. I haven't done it in forever. I used to play video games a lot. I occasionally now do, but I don't have a lot of time. But they are mixed between movies, video games, and YouTube. But that's their main things they love to do.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, they do. They got the movies for me for sure.
Well, tell them to subscribe to Realm of the Mist Entertainment. We're on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So now, what's the movies that you like? Okay, couple questions. The first one, what is your go-to movie? Like when you are you have that time and you want to watch that movie. Which one have you watched numerous times and why?
Okay. This is probably one of my favorite go-tos. I haven't it sounds because I haven't watched it in forever, but I've always been a fan, and it's of a series, the Blade series.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
And it's, I don't know, just something about the character Blade. He was basically born half vampire, half human, so he basically wasn't accepted from either side, but still he managed to try to do what was right, even though he still had the thirst. But I don't know, it's just something about the Blade series I can just watch over and over and over again and never get tired. But honestly, it's a toss-up between that and the cult classic, The Boondock Saints.
I love that movie. A lot of
Nice.
people don't even know about that movie.
Yes.
Norman Reedus in it. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even know about that movie. It's they're like, what? What are you talking about?
If you love the Blade series for the character being half human, half vampire, and hunting other vampires, there's a old Japanese anime movie, and it had a sequel 20 years later that I would highly recommend, which is called Vampire Hunter D.
Oh, I've seen it early 90s. In fact, I have a copy. I have a DVD of it at home, actually.
It's such a great series, such a great series of Japanese anime movies. As long as you don't mind the voice is not syncing up because of English dub and all, but I mean it's still just a solid story, and goes in line with Blade.
Yeah, it was a very good. It was a very good anime. In fact, I've been watching anime since I was a teenager. So yeah, anime was right up my alley too.
Oh, awesome. Do you have any favorite westerns? I'm back on the western. I just keep thinking you as a western guy. I don't know. I'm gonna typecast you as a western guy. I don't know why.
I mean, westerns are good. God, there's so many good ones. There's so many older and newer. But I always and my mom and me used to watch this a lot. In the '90s was Tombstone.
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh, yes, another good one. Yes.
That Tombstone was an amazing one. But and then recently when the Magnificent Seven came out, I mean, I love that too. But honestly, I love the old Clint Eastwood westerns. I love those.
Oh yeah. When my degree is in American Studies, and so in order to graduate your undergrad, you had to like do this. It's like 100 pages of research, and you had to pick something that you had to like defend your thesis. So I did the American Western. That's why I'm like, I guess that's why I'm asking something for the Western. But so I took the Western and I kind of went through the generations, like from the beginning of the Western, and then I kind of like, because obviously Star Wars, all those are Westerns. They're just a different place.
Yes.
So so my whole thing was I kind of like highlighted generationally what the antagonists, the protagonists, and everybody looked like. And so, yeah, I love I did a whole thing on the spaghetti westerns with Clint Eastwood. Oh my gosh, they were just amazing.
See,
I think one of.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. No, okay. One of my favorites I love of him was A Fistful of Dollars. I love that movie, just especially because if I'm correct, that was the one because they immortalized it in Back to the Future Part 2 to where he was wearing the metal plate things under his chest when he got shot and he got back up. So
yeah,
I love that film. I love that film especially.
See, I've always had a special place in my heart for the Western stories because of the fact of like when you look at films and the lore that usually comes from films, and I'm talking like the epics, like the medieval stuff. Obviously, that's kind of like King Arthur. That's European folklore. That's history of Europe for no better purpose or reason. And then a lot of the other stuff, like a lot of horror, was based on European superstitions and those likes. I love the American Western because it really is kind of our love letter to our history. That's our Renaissance period, was the old Wild West. And I mean, good or bad, love or hate, what happened in those time periods, they gave innumerable amounts of heroes and villains and stories out of that short time period.
Yeah. I know, it's awesome. It is us. That's why I chose the American Western as my thesis, and I presented 100 pages. I watched a lot of Westerns. But I also watched a lot of like Japanese Westerns and the spaghetti Westerns, all that, because obviously they were trying to emulate what we were doing here. So it was really actually a cool thing. Like I did the Seven Samurai. Oh my gosh, that was a great movie. So there's like a lot of ways to enjoy a Western. But I just was, like I said, I was just curious about a Western. I'm sorry, I'm going to typecast you. I don't know why, but yeah. Everybody, this is going to be the new, like, Clint Eastwood,
Hey, I'll take it. I'll take that. I love Clint Eastwood. I'll take that compliment for sure.
Awesome. So, yeah. And what's your favorite, this is like the silliest question in the world, but go-to movie food? What do you like to eat?
Oh man, that is a good one. Well, when I go to the movie theater, my favorite thing to get is the nachos, and it's not the healthiest, but I love it. And the jalapenos and the jalapeno.
Oh yeah, those are good.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Sometimes I crave just go to the movies just to eat the crap. I hate to say that, but it's like I don't care what's playing. My husband will be like, "Let's go to the movies. What's playing?" I don't care. I want to go eat max amounts of junk food from the movie theater.
Well,
it tastes good there.
That's a better reason for spending $20 for a movie ticket than one time I spent the money to go see Meet Joe Black just to see the trailer for Star Wars Episode 1. And
I can see you doing that.
And once the trailer was over, I walked out. I had no interest in the movie. I just wanted to see the trailer.
Oh my God.
But I will say this, $20 well spent.
Yeah, true.
That's true. There you go.
Yeah. Have you ever left a movie theater? I can't remember if I have or not. I don't think I've ever.
I have, yes. I can't say I haven't. I have. And that movie was Hellraiser Bloodline.
Ah, yes. Okay.
I went. I love the Hellraiser franchise. I've always loved the original three, the first three. So when the fourth one came out, I bought tickets that night. You know, like the day it released. I'm going to see it. And about second segment in, I was just like, "What the hell is this?" I walked away. I cut my losses and walked away.
Hey, sometimes it's what you got to do. I'm pretty sure there was a time I did walk out once, but I cannot remember what movie that was. Because there was one time I'm sure, but I cannot remember what the heck it was. So most of the time I haven't walked out, but yeah, I think there was one time, but obviously it wasn't that important movie if I can't remember what it was. So.
Now, the worst I ever did was I went to go see The Rock with Sean Connery and Nick Cage. And there is a story behind this, but I went to see the film, and I fell asleep during the previews and woke up during the credits.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
I missed the whole film, but I got a good nap out of it. I had worked a double shift the night before. I was exhausted, and my friends talked me into going, and little did I know I found a comfortable spot in that seat, and next thing you know, I'm being woken up to leave. It took about 2 years before I finally sat down and watched the film and I actually got to see the film.
Hey, it happens.
Oh, man. What about you, Kim? Is there a movie you walked away from? Did we lose Kim?
I can hear you.
You can hear her, I can't.
Oh, you can't hear her?
No.
Oh.
That's weird.
No, I can hear. Yeah, can you not hear her?
No, I can't hear her, and subsequently, neither can the show. Unfortunately,
wow.
I'm not sure what happened there. So for purposes of this, I will go ahead. I will go ahead and until we see if it'll bring Kim back into the conversation the right way, I'll go ahead and set up for the exit of this episode. Then the big thing I got to ask you is there any way, anywhere you want people to be able to contact or follow you? Social medias and the like, things that you want to promote for people to be able to get in contact with you for film, for questions, for whatever.
Okay. Well, I mean, basically on Facebook, my name is Dale A. Niehaus. That's my middle initial A. That's where I'm on Facebook. And you'll see my bald head right there because my dad has the same name, but he's older and has a full head of hair and gray, so that's not me. And then I'm also on Instagram, and the tagline is a little longer, but I love the motto. It's helping others is the greatest.
Nice.
Yeah.
And of course, guys, you can find Kim and myself here at Realm of the Mist Entertainment. Just go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and share out this video so friends and family can check it out as well. And of course, you can check out our sister channel, Sounds Dicey Gaming, for all your video game and tabletop gaming needs. And of course, if you prefer your podcast in audio format, you can find Realm of the Mist on Anchor.fm, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, or wherever quality podcasts can be heard. Again, I want to thank our guest, Mr. Dale Niehaus. I always want to go Haas. I don't know why. Niehaus and of course, I want to thank SJ Network for helping secure us this interview. Steve Joyner, you're the man. You know you are. And, of course, guys, thank you very much for joining us. Without you, there is no us. And we will catch you on the next Breaking the Fourth Wall.